Hello, I'm Morris Massey. Let's continue our probe into human behavior. Now, we know that what we are right now is rooted in where we were when we were value programmed. So if we very carefully observe people as they are now and ask ourselves, where were they when? How did they get their current mindset? Then we quickly get a sense of where they're coming from, why they're doing such screwy things as we see it. Now, we don't have to agree with those people, but to even begin to get along, we've got to accept them for what they are. Sometimes accepting other people is really tricky. I'll never forget when I was still a professor at the University of Colorado. One of my colleagues was about 55, an internationally recognized scholar. All his adult life he had been a professor, a good one. One day he was in his class going, this is the word, believe, memorize, regurgitate, and most of his life the students sat there, took it down, and spewed it back. But by the 1970s, the students were different. And one day it caught up with him. He was giving the word, and a girl in the back of the room held up her hand and said, do you know what the shit you're talking about? He freaked out, lost it, ran out, saw me, and started yelling, we gotta kill the bastards, we gotta kill them all. Now, probably something like that has never happened to you. Probably nobody's ever said to you, hey, do you know what the you're talking about? Well, if they haven't, you can bet your bottom dollar they've thought it. Unless you're so special you regularly walk on water, then you better believe there are a lot of people who think you're full of it. They may not say it, but they think it. The people you live with, the people you work with, a lot of people. And you probably think it too when other people don't agree with your point of view. But there is hope. We can improve the way we interact with other people, communicate, motivate, the way our relationships work. The hope, the promise for getting along better lies in how we see and accept all those people who are different from us. Remember, we're all right. We're all normal. We're just different because we were value programmed differently. So we can use this concept, and it works. If I were employed by a big organization like IBM or the IRS, then obviously I'm going to work with people all across the age spectrum. The oldies but goodies who grew up before World War II, the group from the 40s, and those who came after World War II, the good life had arrived. So let's say I'm dealing with a 58-year-old. I look at him and I think, I know where you were when. It was tough. You walked to school 5 miles through the snow, did without. Oh, the drama of it all. I know why you're a little senile in relating to today's world. Or if I'm dealing with a 28-year-old, I look at him and say, I know where you were when. What happened to you? How frustrated you were? All the confusion, the trauma, the turmoil. I know why you're an arrogant son of a bitch. We could do that on an individual basis. But in reality, what we can probably do is look at large groups of people and talk about how each group relates to the world as they use a set of commonly held values. Now, actual age places all us unique individuals into one of these big generational clusters. But we're going to be concerned about the mindsets of the groups, the way people see the world because of what they saw as they grew up within each group. Mindsets are formed by all those commonly shared background experiences. At every point in history, there is a giant force field. Technology, the educational system, legal factors, the general economy, and all those areas mesh together to form a view of the way things are and the way things should be. But there's some minor glitches. Sex is a variable. Historically, males and females were treated differently. But that's changing. Also, obviously important, is whether you're brown, black, yellow, or lily. So race, sex, perhaps even where people grow up geographically, all contribute to our mindsets and behavior. But we're going to look at the big picture and generalize. We'll rise up and look at the whole society. Okay. As we taxi for takeoff, just make sure your seatbelts are securely fastened and your mind is not in an upright and locked position. At the top of the heap, hanging on for dear life, are dyed-in-the-wool oligers, old agers, traditionalists who grew up during the 1920s and 30s, before World War II. Their current values, point of view, mindset were shaped by, influenced by the Great Depression, FDR, the Great War, that's World War II. Grenada was not a great war for them. They don't relate. There's a commitment to winning. Some of their thinking has its roots way back in the late 1800s. For them, there were and are right ways to lead life, work, play, have sex, worship, eat. All that was passed on unchanged and seldom questioned from generation to generation. Like grandfather, like father, like son. They believe when the going gets tough, the tough get going. Imagine their frustration today when the going gets tough and young people leave. They felt that behind every great man stood a great little lady who probably wanted to belt the son of a bitch because of the way he was treating her. But she had no choice, so she just hung in there. There was an overwhelming consistency in the traditional experiences that molded them. Everything neatly fit. At home, father knew best. In school, there was one right answer, all the rest were wrong. At work, the boss ruled the roost. From the pulpit came the unquestioned word. It all meshed together with incredible, indelible consistency that cemented the Oliger point of view. It was a level of consistency that none of these people ever had. Remember, this is the prevailing point of view of today's top dogs. Presidents, CEOs, superintendents, reverends, generals are still typically Oligers. Currently, they're headed for a showdown at the Not Okay Corral. But in true Oliger fashion, the good old boys have mentally circled their wagons, and by God, they're prepared to go down with the ship if necessary. But they don't think they'll have to. It all looks so calm and pleasant. Oh, sure, there's a few million people starving, homeless in the streets, a few glitches in the good life, but there are no riots in our streets. Sure, they're demonstrating on campuses again, but they're so pleasant. They even stand in line to be fingerprinted. Yet many Oligers are still confused by their own kids. They have never really trusted the little bastards, those pushy New-Agers. New-Agers. The age of Aquarius dawned as a counterculture. It was that huge wad of people spawned in the frenzy to catch up after World War II. They grew up in the late 50s through the 60s, and they are different. We didn't know what to do with them. There were so many of them, so we kept piling them together, stuffed them into double-session schools, herded them through bulging campuses, and then dumped them into a saturated job market. No wonder a lot of these people say, I want my space. You'd want your space too if you had been treated like a sardine. They were. Some of them smelled worse. Yet they insisted that their elders take them serious instantly. And instantly, they were taken more seriously than any generation in history. We called it the generation gap. But it was much more than age. It was a new perspective, new point of view, often scandalous behavior, and an original sense of allegiance. The me decade had arrived. They're still looking out for number one. These people were different because we raised them differently. Affluence, the good life, permissiveness, television, herpes, they had it all. Their music was loud, their sex was free, their expectations great. Hey, they want the best. Job, clothes, car, vacation, body, they want it all. But their attention span is very short. 7 to 8 minutes, then they need a little commercial break to deal with reality. The Oligers keep hoping that the New-Agers will grow up. They have. The bulk of the bulge is well into its life cycle, and they are clearly still different, on the job and off. And remember, many of these people would rather be off than on. They work to play. It's always Miller time. Party, party, party. Oligers have been criticized for not taking time to stop and smell the roses. But New-Agers expect FTD to deliver them on schedule. New-Agers won't, aren't, can't live their lives as their parents and grandparents did at similar stages. Now, between these very serious Oligers, and they are, a lot of them look perpetually constipated, kind of scrunched up. Between the Oligers and the spacey New-Agers is a relatively nervous bunch. They grew up during the 1940s and early 50s. These people are a little vague. You ask Oligers and New-Agers what's right, wrong, good, bad, normal, not normal, by God, they'll tell you. Of course, they don't agree. These people in the middle don't know. They're a little wishy-washy. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. They are the schizos of the world. In true schizo fashion, in a classic sense, they're caught in a double bind. If any group has a theme song, theirs is Bridge Over Troubled Water. 1 foot in both camps. Their point of view is a gray zone. They don't know where they fit, so they've developed coping mechanisms. Diseases like burnout. Oligers didn't burn out, they were there 32 years, didn't miss a beat. Newagers haven't turned on long enough to burn out. Schizos short circuit all over the place. Schizos are hung up on relationships. Relationships, that's the word of the 80s. Watch them at a party. They're the huggers, just grabbing everybody, searching for another lost soul, somebody to make contact with. Oligers are hands off. Newagers are hands-on. Schizos keep trying it all ways. In a lot of relationships, schizos are shaky. When they get divorced, and statistically they're likely to, they can have the nicest time, little brunches and receptions. When Hallmark came out with divorce announcement cards, Oligers didn't know what the hell the world was coming to. In the marketplace, a lot of products and services have been created to cater to schizos' have your cake and eat it too attitude. They love things both ways. Look at light beer. What a joke. If we're going to drink beer, let's drink beer like the Germans drank it. Or Tab. What a wimpy little drink. Just being that calorie running around. They want it and they don't want it. See, they're not really middle of the road. They just weave a lot. They flip-flop. One day health foods, the next day they pig out on Big Macs. What schizos want is choice. They love choices. Think about salad bars. Salad bars are a schizo invention. When Oligers were in charge, you got a salad and you ate the whole damn thing because there were starving children in China. Schizos put a little bit of 75 things on the same plate. What a mess. Hanky-panky, that's choice. Oligers fooled around a little on the side, but they were quiet about it. Schizos have organized it. They're out there, ads, posters, meetings, Baskin-Robbins 31 flavors. Oligers think in terms of vanilla, chocolate, maybe strawberry. Oligers do not compute amaretto slush. For schizos, ecstasy is having lots of choices. Agony is having to choose. Eating out with a schizo can drive you mad. They read every damn item on the menu, then they want to be the last to order, because they want to keep their options open. In life and love, in the meat markets, they go both ways. They want it all. Schizos are the original bridge people. Their greatest contribution is to link Oligers and Newagers. They're effective mediators, compromisers, interpreters, given their unique position. They're key facilitators. Creative compensation plans, smorgasbord benefit programs, human resource departments. Traditionalists remember personnel. You hired and fired the bastards. But with human resources, they're like tropical plants to be nurtured. Quality of work-life experiences, participative management, all those reflect the schizo touch. Schizos are health-conscious, self-conscious, and semi-conscious about money. Oh, a fun group. Clearly emerging is a new group, all scrubbed and trimmed, polo-shirted, Adidas-footed. The Syntax are a mixed bag. They're coming online, synthesizing extremes. They've grown up hearing one thing from the Oligers, something else from the Newagers, and all sorts of things from the schizos. Syntax calmly holds a spectrum of values. They tend to be economically conservative, job worried, a natural result of growing up with double-digit inflation and on-again, off-again unemployment. But be careful, sometimes they're liberal. They're ready and willing for a lot of stuff. They're simultaneously conservative, liberal, and in between. True synthesis and mass confusion. Even their heroes are a hodgepodge. A recent survey had them naming Boy George, Lee Iacocca, Michael Jackson, Margaret Thatcher, Madonna, not the one in the church, and Gandhi. You put those people together, it's a mess. Syntax take technology for granted. It's a toy. They were weaned on it. True Syntax were born after we entered the space age. Computers, jets, food processors, VCRs, direct dialing, digital watches, real robots, for them, it's all normal. Many of today's kids think money comes from machines, not trees. A lot of Syntax know, understand, live, and play the computer. But when the computer is down, God forbid they should turn on their minds and think. But when the computer's up, pure power. If push comes to shove, the whiz kids may win. Remember the movie War Games? Clever movie idea. A teenage hacker playing around invades our nuclear arsenal at Cheyenne Mountain, and we're catapulted toward World War III. The reality is, right now, the FBI has a special team for handling the electronic invasion of schools, government, businesses. Consider the potential for subversion. For example, top management in a major brewery decided we're going to have 90% production efficiency out on the line. Those young engineers discovered if they told Lotus 123 what they wanted, it told them the numbers to feed in. Celebration at headquarters. Reality on the line. About 75%. Not the 92% these people thought. An economic time bomb is ticking. Imagine their surprise when the real costs catch up. The Syntax need the computer and anything else they can get. They're caught in the interface between the old and the new. For them, the future looks iffy. We are already changing the definition of success. It used to be spelled this way, but increasingly, they realize that they are not going to get a taken-for-granted part of our American dream. Our dream machine has been that each generation would be able to do better than the last. Syntax simply may not make it. They are the first generation not sure they'll do better, have more than their parents. The average price of a home is $100,000, cars are $6,000 and up, way up. Great sweaters a la Miami Vice style above $200. And look at utilities, travel, how will they afford it all? They've come up with a clever answer. Move back in with mom and dad. Surprise, I'm home. Mom and dad say, what the hell are you doing back? We just got rid of you. Get back out there. There's a lot of pressure on the Syntax. Super babies and whiz kids can self-destruct in 7th grade burnout. Perhaps more than ever, a generation is in a pressure cooker. Growing up has never been easy. We can all testify to that. But today, it's an overload. Look at the demands, expectations, answers, data, choices, options, escapes. Coping is at a premium. Some can't. Teenage suicide is a major epidemic, and it's happening in the nicest neighborhoods. We can't discount it as low socioeconomic. The ultimate success and survival of this group, and all of us, depends on how we handle this mess. Okay, now we have just 4 groups to analyze. The Syntax and the Schizos are both composites, blends of diverse values, and they'll be natural allies for the future given their mishmash backgrounds. The picture is clearer if we begin to look at, contrast, values and behavior patterns of Oligers and Newagers. If we begin to focus on those people, we can get some real insights into why each group thinks the other is full of it. Remember, it's a generalization, but the broad patterns of the way we see the world are real and different. For example, traditionalists love the group team. They love to get together and do things. They grew up with teams. You do not win wars, get out of depressions, build giant economic systems without a tremendous amount of coordinated cooperative effort. And so they plan things. Let's do it for the company, for the community, for the country. These people love company picnics. Okay, we're all going to get together and by God, we'll have fun. Newagers have fun. They're stoned out of their minds. They don't know the planet they're on, much less the social event. When challengers, Newagers were growing up, we kept telling them, you're unique, you're different. And they believed us. So they want to be treated as unique individuals with individual needs, rights, and concerns. So what works for the Oligers doesn't work for the Newagers. For example, rules and regulations. Rules and regulations are for all these turkeys over here. Even a basic rule like getting to work on time. These people can't get to work on time. Sometimes they can't get to work. Things come up, like they just weren't with it that day. Or if they live near a beach and the surf's up, they have to deal with that. Newagers listen to a different internal drummer, not the drummer leading the group team of the Oligers down the field. Now, the group team always had a leader, an authority figure, a boss, a minister, a professor, a teacher, a parent. Traditionalists somewhat blindly accepted authority figures. You don't believe it? Go visit their homes. Look under the furniture. There are all these little tags hanging down. Do not remove under penalty of law. They won't tear those tags off. They think somebody's listening for ripping. These people just rip them off right in the store. They're challengers. They challenge everything, everything. Watch people at intersections. Red light, Oligers patiently wait for the light to change. Newagers just blast right through. They don't even see it. Schizos watch to see if anybody else is going through. We saw differences in student behavior. When traditionalists and in-betweeners were students, they went to class, got an assignment, did it, or flunked. When the rejectionists came on campus, we'd give them an assignment and they'd say, "We don't like it." We'd go, "What the hell do you mean you don't like it? I'm the professor, you're the student, do it." They'd say, "Let's discuss it." They want to participate. They insist on participating. They've participated at home, at school, on the playground. They've always participated in decision making. So now, as adults, they demand to participate, on the job especially. Decisions that affect them, they pay attention to. Now, obviously, differences in values create conflicts. I love a news story from California. Recently, at the University of California, Santa Cruz campus, they decided to select a formal mascot. The powers that be wanted a sea lion. The campus was on the coast. The students voted against them. Their main complaint was, all sea lions do is lounge around in a state of heightened sexual arousal. We want something with more dignity, something with a distinctive, unique presence. So they voted in slugs, those bloop, bloop things. Pacemakers short-circuited over here. How can you yell, hit 'em again, at slugs? Now that's kind of a silly story, but not really, because what it should tell us is that what's important to us, what's not important to us, what we believe in, what we don't believe in, what's right, wrong, good, bad, normal, not normal, all those things are directly rooted in our gut level values, and our values are very, very different. But we can bridge the differences. Today's best teams require everyone to participate. Teamwork, individualism, authority, participation, they're not mutually exclusive. Another strongly held value is institutional leadership. Institutional leadership. If a corporation said, we need it, or a government said, do it, or a church said, thou shalt not, then these people went along. But all these people were programmed to question. They love to ask embarrassing questions. One of their favorite questions is, why? Why are we doing this? Why do we continue to dump stuff in the river? Why do we pay women less? Why do we do this? Why do we do that? When confronted with why, a lot of these people have sputtered, because that's the way we've always done it. That's the way we're going to keep doing it. And you just shut up and grow up and see. Or they give the ever popular, well, son, when you've been around as long as I have. But these people do not automatically accept those old, historically based answers. In today's realities, we have to at least consider changing the way we've always done things. And then there's social order. Social order. People in their places, like the backs of buses, are not going to school with my children, are not living in my neighborhood, are not on the job telling me what the hell to do, are barefoot and pregnant. That's bias, prejudice, discrimination. People have all sorts of arbitrary views about sex, race, sexual preference, religion, a whole series of things that simply are not related to the ability of human beings to perform. Perform. That should be the bottom line question. Generally, younger people accept others on an equality basis if they can perform. Do they know what the hell they're doing? Can they make a decision effectively? Even though the laws have changed, values haven't. There's a lot of lip service about equality. We've still got too damn many chickens who don't want to rock the boat, rattle cages, don't want to get involved. Discrimination is alive and well. A lot of women in low-level jobs continue to be paid less than men simply because they're women. How in the hell can people who could change that even go to sleep at night when they know in their hearts there's not one logical, rational reason for it? Well, we still have a lot of people with Phyllis Schlafly-like mentalities. They worry about things like unisex restrooms, Every home has unisex restrooms. There's no big issue. Airplanes have unisex restrooms. Have you ever seen a fight break out on a plane over that? Of course not. We better pay attention. We better clean up our act. There are a lot of short fuses sitting out there. If we don't stop discrimination, they're going to subvert the hell out of everything. Olagers are a little Puritan, a little uptight. That is not to say they did not have fun. They just didn't talk about it a lot. In fact, they were really very good at being two-faced, double standard about a lot of things. Newagers just let it all hang out. They're sensual. They like to feel one another and anyone else who might be around. Sensual means sensory. Hearing, tasting, touching, seeing, total experience. This is the first generation that has extensively used drugs and alcohol to amplify, modify their sensory perceptions. Flip a switch, turn me on. Olagers don't want to feel. They have to take Pepto-Bismol if they feel too much. They're spectators, not participators. Frequently, when I'm doing a live presentation and I write sensual, I can usually see a traditionalist say, oh God, he's going to talk about sex. And I am. But I'm going to handle it very carefully. So if you're over here, you won't get upset. The one area of sex I know something about from a purely professional point of view is pornography. I was hired back in the 70s by what was called the President's Commission on Obscenity and Pornography. Now, you may remember that report was categorically rejected by a number of our leaders who hadn't resigned yet. They obviously didn't want to be confused by any factual information. After tons of research, one major conclusion about porno was that traditionalists have had it but hid it. Up in the attic, out in the garage, down in the basement, challengers found it and did it. Schizos missed it and bought stacks of it. The primary purchasers of so-called pornographic obscene materials are these people right here. Why can't we face reality? Hell, forget Playboy and Penthouse. Circulations are down. The clubs are closed. People want the good stuff. 40% of all videotapes now being rented are X-rated. That alone is $450 million a year. We've come a long way from French postcards and black socks. Some people get uptight about language. Newagers tell it like it is. Olagers namby-pamby around. Now, you may have noticed I'm using a few four-letter words, not any of the biggies that cause people to faint, throw up, and leave the room. Some of you are probably waiting for those, and some of you are probably pissed that I'm doing it. It's okay. Those are just your values. We don't have to vote on it. All the words are in the movies, newspapers, magazines. We can hear them on the nightly news. Now, whether you personally like that language or not, it's reality. The taboos are gone. Way back in 1976, when What You Are Is Where You Are When was first released, a major purchaser was a U.S. chemical corporation. They wanted to use the program in their affirmative action series to kind of needle some folks who were sort of ignoring reality. Obviously, to use a program throughout a big organization, you have to get vice presidential approval. So they showed it to the 57-year-old vice president who lived on the 12th floor of headquarters in a very rarefied atmosphere. And he said, absolutely not. That is total filth. We do not talk like that in this company. Obviously, he had not been beneath the 11th floor, because they did talk like that. Further, he said, our women will be completely turned off. They'll walk out. You can't use it. Well, the people that bought it really did want to use it. So they gathered a bunch of employees, showed them the film, and asked them a few questions. One was, it has been suggested we should not use this film because the language will be offensive, especially to women. How do you feel about that? 80% of the women wrote bullshit. With that data, he gave in, but they had to prove it to him. We ignore the data of reality. In that guy's value system, women were still sitting around on the veranda drinking mint juleps waiting for the gentlemen callers. He didn't realize the world had changed, people had changed, women had changed. He was still trapped in his Olager value system. That's one way to change people in today's world. Give them data. Give them information. Bring them in contact with reality and the way people really are. Hard data, 80% said. Soft data, this is the way people feel. Boy, that's scary. Most people ignore their own feelings, much less other people's feelings. Ask people. They'll tell you how they feel, and it's okay. It's just their feelings. You don't have to agree with them, but unless we accept them, we don't have a prayer for our relationships. Another major value strongly held by traditionalists is formality, structure, predictability. Listen for words that give a hint. Formality structure, like appropriate, correct, right, proper. In contrast, challengers are irritatingly informal. Just it's okay, whatever. Laid back, casual. The values are reflected on and off the job. Consider clothing. Some of you remember dress codes at home, at school, at work, at the club. Dress codes are an Oliger invention. I know one good old boy who recently put out a memo that things have gotten out of hand in our office. As of next Monday, all men must wear coat, tie, and white shirt. Women must be professional and wear appropriate undergarments, including brassieres and hose. The next Monday, a young lady from over here showed up in a beautiful cashmere pantsuit under her bra and pantyhose. Be careful what you ask for. You might get it. The way we dress, the way we work, the way we play, everything is rooted in our gut level values. Think about weddings. Weddings used to be important. Of course, when you do it a lot or you don't bother to do it, they become less important. When the Oligers married, you knew what was going to happen. There was an authority figure, a priest, rabbi, minister, candles burned, gladiolas crawled across the altar. Everyone cried on cue. They were all dressed appropriately. During the ceremony, they promised to love, cherish, and one of them, obey. Well, if the Newagers bothered to get married, they sometimes did very strange things. Once I went to a Newager wedding in Boulder, Colorado. It was held up on top of a mountain. Here we are out in the damn woods climbing around. These people, of course, all dressed up, coat, tie, white gloves. We get to the top. The wedding party looked like hell. None of the dresses matched. It was truly early Salvation Army. During the ceremony, one of the bridesmaids got sick, went up, threw up over the cliff, came back. They just kept going, never missed a beat. We don't know who conducted the ceremony. It was some guy wearing an Aztec robe and doing a lot of mumbo jumbo, and they did not promise to love, cherish, honor, and obey. They signed a 5-year contract with renewable options. The traditional parents cried, but for non-traditional reasons. They just couldn't believe it. Again, what's important to us, what's not? All those value reactions are rooted deep within us. Oligers love work. Work for work's sake. They're there, they're dressed right, say the right things, do the right things, pay their dues, climb the ladder. Challengers do not like work. Get it? It interrupts an otherwise wonderful social schedule. They're looking for something else. But these people love work. They identify with their work. You ask them, who are you? And they say, I'm a foreman, I'm an accountant, I'm a production engineer, they are their job. You ask challengers, who are you? And they say, I'm a Libra, Scorpio rising. Or, I'm me, I'm Morris, I'm a human being. Pay attention to me on that basis. Their job is only a small portion, in some cases, a very small portion of their total life. Newagers don't look for identity on the job. They look for self-fulfillment. Self-fulfillment. They keep trying to find themselves. If you say, what the hell do you mean find yourself? You're standing right there. When you tell a traditional manager that he has to provide self-fulfillment on the job for his younger employees, he's likely to say, self-fulfillment my rear, there's a job to do. Now get the hell out there and do it. Self-fulfillment comes when people truly understand the meaning of their job. Meaning of their job. You know, most people don't know the meaning, real meaning of their job. If we're lucky, they know their job title and description, but true meaning is at the feeling level, and we never discuss that. It's like when you stay in a big new hotel. Sure, there's the architecture and all, but the meaning to you, the customer, comes from the people behind the desk in the coffee shop, the maid who rams you with her cart getting to the next room. Think about the human level. For example, I was on a United Airlines flight from Chicago to Grand Rapids in the middle of winter. Temperature was going to be 19 degrees when we landed. Because of a little turbulence, a flight attendant dumped an entire tray of drinks right on top of me, direct hit. For the next 15 minutes, she was United Airlines. I didn't give a shit about Dick Ferris, their president, all snug and warm in Chicago. I hope the mechanics had paid attention, assumed the captain was okay. But for me and the other 91 passengers, she was key. She did okay. I started laughing. What else do you do when you know you're going to walk out and be frozen solid? United has long been recognized for their technical excellence in training. But until recently, they haven't told their people, you are this airline. We need to talk to people about the real meaning of their jobs. And of course, on the job, these people want to have fun. Fun. Life has been fun, 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 fun. And so on the job, they want to enjoy. Olagers do not have fun at work. You can goose some of them and they won't have fun. I mean, they are deadly serious. Why can't we have fun on the job? Remember, if we want something, if it's built into us, then we create it. I remember when the media carried a report of a secretary in a major corporation who sat on the new Xerox machine. She took one picture, one shot. These people over here did not think that was funny. They fired her ass on the spot. Boom! She was history. You don't go around sitting on the Xerox machine. They loved it in her office. They had more fun that day. I know of no rule, no reason why we can't have fun on the job. We are so worried about productivity. Right now, I'll tell you how people can become more productive, will become more productive if they enjoy what they're doing, if they have fun on the job. Now, granted, we don't want to be silly. If you manage a nuclear reactor, you don't want people jumping around going boom, boom, boom. But there is absolutely no reason why people should not be allowed to enjoy what they're doing. And if they do enjoy, they'll be more productive. I was pitching this to a bunch of engineers in California. Uptight, button-down mind mentality. I said, you got to have fun, you got to loosen up. They said, look, we're engineers. We're very serious around here. And they were. They do missile guidance systems and things like that. What could we do? I said, well, something spontaneous, something human. On your way to work one day, buy a bunch of flowers. Give one to everybody, even the men. They're real tough and macho, but they'll sniff it when no one's looking. Or throw candy, Tootsie Rolls, lollipops at people. They're engineers. One of them said, balloons, helium balloons. Could we do balloons? I said, I don't give a damn. Just do something. A few brave souls opened up, became more human. Now I have letters from their top management that say communication is better, people are talking to each other, they seem more motivated. It's great. Let's have the guts to be more human, more spontaneous. Loosen up. Olagers crave order, stability. They love stable systems, the status quo. All their lives, they've been looking for answers, the right way to do things. They'd like to lock in and have life flow smoothly forevermore. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. These people love change. They change everything. Variety is the spice of life. They change their hobbies, their sports, their heroes, their jobs. Their threshold for boredom is very low. And these people keep going, oh, we finally got it together, and now they're screwing it up again. Very realistically, most people, if they change something at work, true disaster will not be triggered. Everyone won't quit, sales won't drop, the stock market won't crash, a plague of locusts will not rise in the West. True disaster, World War III, will not erupt. Maybe, just maybe, the job will be done better, more effectively, more productively. If we change something and it's not better, we can always go back to the way we used to do it. Again, changing the way we do things is probably not life-threatening. But you know, I have actually seen the system where if you change one thing, you could trigger true disaster, World War III. Now, you probably think it's at NORAD headquarters on Cheyenne Mountain in Colorado Springs, but it's actually uprange in the duplicating room at the University of Colorado. There's a 58-year-old troll that has been running that operation for about 20 years. By God, she has a system, and you follow her system, screw around, and all hell could break loose, World War III. Well, we better screw around today. The stability of the almighty bottom line is very shaky. How were your last quarter profits? We're going to have to change the way we do business if we're going to do any business at all. Long-term survival now depends on continuous change. But change scares olagers. It threatens what they desperately want deep down. Their economic security. If any symbol represents these people, it's this, the dollar sign. Remember, what we grow up without becomes critical for us. These people like money. They assume money over here, but what they want is a happy face. Have a nice day. These people say, I'll have whatever the hell kind of day I want to have. It's my day, and by God, you better leave it alone. But if at the end of the day they made money, they had a nice day too. And some of these people have discovered that to have their nice day they better get some of this stuff. People are looking for different things. These people over here don't think the system is the solution. They think the system is the problem. Problems. Olagers love problems. Problems are orgasmic for them. They've had big problems, depressions, wars, building the good life. They get so excited. First, they form a group called a committee. Then they look for answers. We've created an industry to help. Management by bestseller. Stand by for the 1 Minute Manager dresses for success and uses MBO to become a Megatrends change master as he passionately searches for excellence with Theory Z. The only thing wrong with all that stuff is how we use it. Why don't we get it? There is no one right answer. Today's realities require more than quick fixes. But these people know things happen just like that. They grew up with TV. Over here, they saw the world's most complex problem solved in 1 hour with 4 commercial breaks for the good life. Push a button, flip a switch. They snort, crackle, and pop their worries away. But if the batteries go dead, or the computer is down, or their dealer is busted, we let them off the hook. New Agers don't like problems, but they love causes. Causes. Oh, give them a cause. The bigger, the better. The less they can do about it, the more excited they can get about it. Ooh, they love biggies like disarmament, hunger, pollution. Olagers are more specific. The God Almighty bottom line, OPEC, Monday Night Football. I'm a true schizo on all this. On the one hand and on the other hand. I think a lot of stuff is related. I agree with Donald Trump, the New York City mega developer. He's gone on record supporting nuclear disarmament. He knows the big boom will be terrible for real estate values. Most people are just doing the best they can given their current beliefs, many of which are not working. People are confused. Think about pollution. There is pollution in the Great Lakes. Olagers can't deny it. A few years ago, the river caught on fire in Cleveland. They didn't know what the hell to do. Do you put water on a burning river? New Agers should remember that at no point in the past did these people sit around and say, let's pollute the Great Lakes. We'll kill all the fish, screw up the beaches. They won't have any fun on the Great Lakes anymore. These people in the past made decisions given their best information. Now we see the consequences, and now we can change things. All of us can pitch in. Hey, we're all in it together. It's all interconnected. I'll guarantee you, for all those people who are so concerned about pollution in the Great Lakes, if you go to where they live, there's fungus growing up the wall of their shower stall. But it's no fun to clean up your shower stall, is it? It's no fun to do something tedious. It's fun to worry about the big issues. We desperately need to apply the best problem-solving techniques available to the real cause issues out there. Do you want to change the world? I'll tell you how you can change the world. You can best change the world by starting where you are. I can impact where I am, right here, right now. I can't do a damn thing about the back of this room, but I can impact what and who and where I touch. You want to do something positive? You want to make a difference? Go home and clean out your closets. Some of you have closets, offices, desks, garages that are a bigger threat to human life than 3 Mile Island. You've got stuff from your past piled up everywhere. But it's not fun to clean out your closets, is it? Clean out your physical closets. If it's not wanted or needed, throw it away. Clean out your mental closets. Dump that trashy, judgmental crap from your past that's destroying your relationships. Accept the reality of the world and its people as they are. Okay, one more. Materialism. These people love things. They collect things, do not waste things, will not throw away things. A friend of mine's elderly aunt died recently. When they cleaned out her attic, they found a big box neatly labeled "String Too Short to Save." Talk about putting away a little for a rainy day. A little voice keeps telling these people, he who dies with the most toys or the biggest bank account wins. They retire. We give them a gold watch. Why do they need a gold watch? They're retired. They don't have to be anywhere. And they can't focus anyway, but it's symbolic. New Agers like things. They buy things. If they get too many things, they can always store them at their parents'. But they buy things for experiences. Experiences, feelings, sensations, turn-ons. Our values are directly reflected in the marketplace. What we buy. In many ways, what we are is reflected by what we wear, what we drive, eat, or listen to, like stereo equipment. Just about everyone has some sort of stereo. If you're a typical traditionalist, you have a stereo console, this nice big wooden thing that sits there all polished, lots of lights. You paid good money for that, baby. Top of the line, $800. It sits there in the rec room and plays music. And you drink to it. These people bought stereo equipment. They charged it. $1,800 for a component system. It hangs all over the wall. Wires are running everywhere. It looks like a refugee from Star Wars. And after they got it, they wired themselves into it because they wanted to feel the music. These people don't want to feel the music. It's a bunch of noise. And then there's the in-betweeners. They're so worried they don't know what to do. They like the quality of a component system, but they don't want to upset these people. So the typical in-betweener buys a component system and then hides it in a closet or a special cabinet. And of course, if it's an antique armoire, it's even better. That's the best of both worlds. High tech and no tech brought together. Compromisers, middle of the road position. Remember the automotive industry? They haven't been paying attention. Think about vans. You know, those things ologers went to work in. Florists, plumbers, people deliver things in vans, functional, work-oriented. But in the late 1960s, these people looked at vans and said, hey, we're going to make a few modifications. We're going to have some experiences in vans, sensual participation. It's going to feel good day and night. A lot of fun. All of a sudden, the automotive industry experts looked out and went, damn, look at all those vans running around. All three of the big three finally admitted their expert planners completely, totally, and absolutely missed the van phenomena because they were not paying attention to the gut-level value shifts. Before I got into value analysis, I could not understand how the automotive industry could so consistently screw up. They just weren't in touch with what happened during the 60s and 70s. They kept producing big blimps, battleships. The industry was run by and producing for these people. Think about it. These people grew up with cars that were very different. These people, in growing up, had terrible roads, uncomfortable, undependable cars, and they said, we got to do better. And they did. Materialism. Their cars were status symbols. But again, their kids grew up in the blimps. And they said over here, hey, we just want basic transportation. It was the lead schizos that started buying foreign imports way back in the early 60s. Remember the Volkswagen Beetle? Traditionalists said, that's not a car, sounds like a damn lawnmower. It's a golf cart running around. But these people said, get us from point A to point B. Or if you say to them, price is no object, we'll pay for it. What do you want? At the top of their list, Porsche and Corvette, because you could feel the road. These people felt the road, felt the road, felt the road. They didn't want to feel the damn road. And then there's the in-betweeners. They've got a station wagon and a sports car just to be covered. Unless we pay attention to the value systems in other people, we are simply not understanding them in today's terms. We have to look at people, analyze how they were value programmed, and then use that understanding for motivation, communication, everything. If we don't, then we're missing the mark in decision making. We have to be flexible because flexibility is demanded by the diversity in the values. Remember, it's our individual responsibility to pay attention. Okay, let's assume, just for academic argument, that you want to change someone. Now I know that for the most part, you do not have a problem with other people. Your relationships are probably all working. I'll bet you get along with all the people you live with. No arguments. At work, communication flows around you with lightning-like speed and 100% accuracy. Everyone's motivated, productive. But let's say for just a few people who watch this program, not you, of course, but a few others, back in reality, there's some son of a bitch who needs altering. If so, we can consider creating a significant emotional event. If we want to change people, we have to do something so mentally arresting that people stop, look at themselves, their behavior, even their values. In order to create an SEE, there are just a few things to remember. First, we have to accept responsibility. We have to be responsible for creating change. Lots of people don't like to be responsible for their own lives. They keep waiting for someone else to change. The government, the schools, other parents, the police, whoever. We keep passing the buck and blaming others, especially the ever-popular they. They're wrong. They're insensitive. They don't understand. The truth is, we are responsible for handling our own lives. We create our lives. We're writing the scripts. We're responsible. Have you ever noticed something about other people? Not you, but others. They keep having the same problems, Their screw-up button is locked in repeat. For those people, what is the one thing that is always there? The one constant that always appears when they have a problem? They're there. Maybe they're the problem. A lot of people seem to be very slow learners. Further, in dealing with others, we need to be direct and personal. That means a little memo won't do it. A little sign won't do it. Praying for it won't do it. Bitching to others won't do it. Hoping won't do it. Put up or shut up. If you want to change, do something. There's a philosophy that says to deal with people, what we should do is get them to contemplate their relationship. So if they're messing up, what we do is call them in when they first come to work and say, Harry, it's not working. We want you to take the rest of the day off, go home and contemplate your relationship with this company. If Harry is 55, he's going to think you flipped out. If Harry is 25, he's going to go, hot damn, I got the day off. That won't work. What we should do is call him in and say, Harry, baby, it's not working. If you do it one more time, you're fired. Got it? Fired. Read my lips. Fired. Then when he does it, do it. Do it. In other words, set up and follow through with consequences. Consequences. We tend not to do that. One of the few truths in human behavior is there will be no behavior change, except random, whimsical, unless there are consequences for that behavior. Got it? There will be no behavior change unless there are consequences. In most cases, we don't set up consequences. Parents tell their children, don't do that, don't do that. The kid keeps doing it. The message is, there is no message. Employees are told, don't do that, don't do that. They keep doing it. Nothing ever happens. No message. In international relations, we say, don't do that. They do. We look the other way. No consequences, no behavior change. When there are consequences, people learn very fast. Our relationships should work like gravity. Gravity always works. You always know the consequences of screwing around with gravity. We learned this as little kids. You get off balance, boom, you get hurt. You don't see adults going around defying gravity. A few of them late at night, but not during the day. Consequences. With the surety and clarity of gravity, it's essential for an SEE. We've also got to consider situations. Sometimes things get intense. A storm, a leak, a crash. As the Louisiana Cajuns say, my friend, when you're up to your ass in alligators, it's hard to remember the objective was to drain the bayou. I guarantee they've got a point. But mostly, life is not that intense. The more we look at situations as part of the big picture, the better. And of course, to really focus an SEE, we have to consider an individual's personality. Personality. You know, I do a lot of generalizing about people. We all do. But everyone deserves to be treated as the unique individual they are. We all like that. Don't you like it when people acknowledge your specialness? Of course you do. Now, I've really become aware of how every person is unique because I have twin boys. They've had exactly the same value programming. One of them makes you believe in the reincarnation of Attila the Hun. The other is the personification of Bambi. Born 15 minutes apart, totally different personalities. It destroys your faith in astrology. Okay, it takes time. It'd be easier if groups like employees, customers, children, and Russians, and whoever could be handled as a group, all alike, but every one of them is just as special as we are. Finally, to create an SEE, there is a whole range of possible approaches, literally a spectrum. You might choose to be very physical on one hand, or very verbal in another respect. Perhaps very negative or completely positive. For some people, some circumstances, some situations, the physical negative is the only thing that's going to work. I'm sorry, but there are a lot of people who will only respond like the jackass that has to be hit between the eyes with a 2x4 to even get their attention. That's the way some people are. Dealing with someone physically negatively may not be your style, but sometimes it's necessary. Several years ago, when I was an administrator at the University of Colorado, we got a brand new building. It was beautiful, carpeting, paneling like a country club. Now, the students at that time basically didn't care. They were the generation that had been given everything. They were never held accountable and responsible for their behavior. So they just sort of gonked around, not really malicious, but just not paying attention. Well, we decided to fight the little bastards. We were not going to let them trash our new building. So we went on hall patrol, had some real confrontations, but basically we protected our building. We were willing to be responsible for our world and for dealing with people in it. Now, some of our psychologist friends told us, won't work, you'll never control people. We said, wrong. If you tell them you're going to kill them and they believe you, you'll change them. And it worked. Well, all that went very well until the mid-1970s. Completely new problem. On a wave called ecology came bicycles. Thousands and thousands of bicycles. Well, Colorado students didn't want to leave their bicycles outside. It got cold on their little fanny, or they were stealing them from one another. So they started bringing bikes inside. You can't do that. You'll tear up everything. Oh, nobody will notice. Let's just throw it here. So we fought them again. We went on hall patrol, we built new racks, and it all worked very well until one day I was walking down the hall and saw a girl with a bike. Just about the time I got to her, she slammed it into a wall of paneling that I remember cost $150 a sheet. And the bike went, and I went, overload, overload. I was wearing my boots that day. I started stomping the living shit out of her bicycle. It was one of those nifty little Italian jobs, parts going everywhere. People were yelling. I went nuts. But I finally got enough control to whirl around and say, look, bitch, let's think about it this way. You're here 2 years, you leave, you don't give a damn whether this building falls down or not. But I had to work for it, sweat for it, I care about it, I'm responsible for it. And because that's the way it is, baby, from now on we're going to play a little game, and it works like this. You break my toy, I'm going to break your toy. You get that bike out of here. For that girl, that was a significant emotional event. And you know, we rarely had a bike in the building after that, because the kids would say, Massey's crazy, he'll attack. And I would. I watched like a hawk. Now, I'm not advocating that we all start stomping the hell out of other people's bicycles, although it feels good. I'm advocating that we hold other people in this world accountable and responsible for their behavior, that we stop looking the other way and winking about corporate cheating, officials who are crooks, million-dollar superstar athletes who are drug addicts. We need to hold a lot of those jerks accountable and responsible for their behavior. You know, in some parts of the world, they cut off thieves' hands. It's brutal, but they have very few thieves. And then there's the flip side, something verbal, always positive. I'd like for you to think of one more four-letter word, and that word is care. Care. What do you care about, not care about, give a damn about? A lot of people don't care. They don't care about anything except their own sweet little ass. A lot of people don't care to vote. People don't care about their children. Bumper stickers ask, have you hugged your child today? Millions would have to say, no, I yelled at them a lot. They didn't take the few seconds necessary to pick up their own child and say, kid, sometimes you're a pain, but I love you. I love you. To care and to love and to communicate it. Employers don't care. Employers don't communicate with their employees. A number one complaint everywhere is that people don't know what their employer expects them to do. They're never told. It's just assumed. The employees are operating in the dark. Some managers are operating in the dark. Surveys say perhaps 70% of our first-line supervisors don't know the full names of the people who report to them. I've heard managers say with pride, they don't learn names because they don't want to be biased in personnel decisions. What unmitigated bullshit! No wonder people are unhappy. No wonder we can't communicate and motivate. Employees don't care. A recent study said that the average employee is wasting 4.5 hours each week. Little extra coffee break time, come in a little late, leave a little early, pocket a few things here. It all adds up. Look around you. In education, in the military, in government, in business, an awful lot of people don't care. What we care about, what we don't care about, believe in, don't believe in, those things too are directly rooted in our gut level values. If we care, if we can change other people, if we truly want to. Now, you know, this sounds silly, right? I mean, hey, this is kind of hokey to talk about caring and loving. We are so sophisticated. We have our degrees and our computers and management theories and unbelievable technology and money and jets. We have become so sophisticated that we have forgotten how to be decent human beings. A lot of people don't care, but if we care, if we love, that too creates significant emotional events. Now, I know that's true because when I decided I was going to deal with this, I started with myself. I was still with the university, and I looked at that 58-year-old troll I mentioned earlier. When she screwed up, I used to attack, and I thought she screwed up a lot. Virginia, you've done it again, and she just was more troll-like than ever. So I changed. I started going up and saying, Virginia, thank you. Thanks for doing your job. Thanks for helping out. Thanks for being here. It was a verbal pat on the back. For real, that woman changed. She became so productive, so positive, because she knew that I cared about her as a living, breathing human being. It is so simple, so easy, so inexpensive. Give a pat on the back. A lot of people are beginning to talk about management by touch. As soon as you talk about touch, red flags go up. Homosexuality, sexual harassment. I'm not talking about goosing someone. I'm talking about an honest handshake, a sincere pat on the back, a heartfelt thank you. We have spent millions to motivate, communicate, get more productivity, and get it. It hasn't worked, has it? We're still looking for the answers. A lot of scientific research and major universities says Leo Buscaglia is right. We all need 4 hugs a day, 4 acknowledgments that we're here and we're important, and the people that get it are so turned on, so productive, so all those things. You see, we have the power in our hands to create it, to care and to love, to show it, to communicate, to mean it. It is so powerful. We change people, create significant emotional events. It works. If you have the guts to try it, you won't be full of it anymore. You'll be bearable.